The last 6 weeks have been a nightmare for me. 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate surgery. We had all kind of elections to make. Since it was encapsulated, we decided, my wife, my urologist and I decided surgery and removal would take care of the problem. It did for 10 years. Now I have been diagnosed that it has reoccurred. It's not the end. I've got an optimistic attitude. I know it's being very aggressive from the elevation level of the PSA on the most recent test. I have undergone all kinds of scans, PET scan, bone scan, special x-rays. As a matter of fact, I've got to go to Fort Pierce this afternoon for one of these lovely scopings. They're still trying to determine the extent. My oncologist, both of them, I'm very impressed with them. They're very, very supportive. The one caveat is you can't cure it, which once it comes back, you don't cure it. You treat it. You keep it under control. I've got to tell you, my energy level is, it's unbelievable. I'm not used to having to lie down and take a rest from time to time, and I'm having to do it constantly. We have cut down on the workload coming into the office, particularly on the probate matters. The school board is still a load. I haven't told them yet. I'll break the news to them tomorrow. The good thing is I've got Deborah as a backup. Your work will continue to be done as long as I'm physically able to do it. I don't know pretty much what else I can tell you other than my attitude is optimistic. It intends to stay that way because somebody greater than me is in control of this, and I understand that. My faith is strong. It's not going to waver. If anything, I would ask, if I asked anything from you, it would be for prayer, not only for me, but for my wife, because I really, without her support, I wouldn't be able to stand here and talk to you guys. She has been unbelievable, a true crutch, a true helpmate. And I just thank God he's given her the ability to support me. So I'm telling you this because I don't want it to come as a shock or a surprise that you hear it on the street. I don't think that's right. I haven't told many people. Steve, of course, knows. He keeps up with all my medications and keeps me advised. He can answer my questions when I don't know how to ask the questions from the oncologist. And like I say, we're still going through a discovery process. I'm not sure, you know, you often wonder why your body doesn't tell you some things. Maybe it has, and I just have ignored it or not been aware of it. I'm not sure what. But that being said, I'll leave. Is there anything you guys need to ask me that's going to be on the agenda today? Because I don't know of anything legally that's foreboding, or it should be a rather routine meeting. And if you don't have any questions, I would just beg your leave and I would go back to my cave over there and rest up for the ordeals that's coming this afternoon.
You're more than a friend, you're a mentor.
Pardon me?
You're a mentor to me.
Well,
Have been my whole life.
and I appreciate that, Tommy. I mean, I do the best I know how to do. Sometimes it's not the best that could be done, but it's the best I know how to do.
So
And I continue to do that.
anything, I don't care if you need somebody to come pick up limbs in your yard. Anything you need, buddy. Anything.
Well, and I appreciate that, really, from the bottom of my heart, because I value the fact that I represent the OUA, just like I value the fact that I've represented the school board for almost 50 years. Incredible. God's been good to me, and I have no regrets. I'll tell you that very openly.
You and Mr. Bryant were the only two legal people we really knew in Okeechobee for.
Well,
You had you to get us out of trouble with him.
we tried.
time being, you worry about yourself. If we have anything, we will get with you. Don't come to us, we'll come to you.
And my door's open, as you well
You're in our
know.
prayers. You're in my prayers for sure. And this, God's in control. He really is.
But I appreciate you all giving me the opportunity to represent you continually, and I thank you.
Till you say you don't want it, and then you got one more year after that.
Well, we'll stretch as long as we can. I'm not hastening any departure, I'll tell you that. So the big thing is keeping a sense of humor. You got to keep a sense of humor no matter what. And sometimes it's difficult, but so be it.
Got a sense of humor. Mark Hunter's got a cure for it. He takes it every day.
Thank you for all you do for us and being a good friend as well as a counselor to us.
That goes both ways. That goes both ways. You all know how I feel about you, all of you. And it'll continue. Would you pardon me if I leave you?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sir, anything you need?
Likewise.
Thank you.
Well, that kind of just changed the whole
Yeah,
flow of everything, didn't it?
that's important.
Okay, let's move on and get focused again. We're going to move on to agenda item number 17, which is the gravity sewer extension in the Orange Loop of Buckhead Ridge. John?
Mr. Chairman and board members, I don't have much more to report on this, other than I just wanted to bring you up to speed that has been a request of the lot owner that just purchased Lot 1 that wanted to join our system. And they asked how that could happen, and the only way I would know that it could happen easily is a gravity sewer system. They could pump it into our gravity sewer system. That is an option. But I approached the developer that owned the other 15 lots to know if they would entertain putting in a gravity sewer system, and then they could attach that cost to each of the other lots that are existing. And it would, for the most part, be a wash of a cost between a septic tank and drain field versus gravity sewer. Unfortunately, I really don't have a whole lot of information. The owner of the 15 lots came back with some questions, which I answered. They asked if they could have another couple weeks to evaluate that, and I'm fine with that. I just wanted to bring it to the board to ask, to seek some guidance from this board as to really cost sharing, if any, that we would entertain with this developer, from 0% to 10% to whatever in the cost sharing, if that was an option, as we negotiate with them.
We didn't do cost sharing with any of the ones here in Okeechobee, did we?
We have in the past with fire hydrants. If you remember, there was a debate as to whether or not we split it 50-50. Where we have grant monies, we haven't charged anybody anything. We absorb the entire cost.
Right.
So this is one of those deals, like if our water main extension for the church on Cemetery Road, we did do some cost sharing. Our current policy says a developer shall bear the full cost for line extensions. So I think that it's wide open. And I guess I just wanted to bring this to y'all's attention to see if y'all wanted to share any guidance with me as to how to bring this back in 30 days, if there would be something that you would be receptive to hearing.
Now, if we decided to go with this, it's gonna be a mandatory hookup. We're gonna get paid regardless if they hook up or not, right?
Yes, sir. We're gonna get paid regardless from the developer, and they could assess the lots, or we could go through the assessment process and assess the lots. We could do it one of many ways, but if there was, say, a 25-75 split, that 75% would be paid by someone, either the developer or the lot owner.
Mel, do you think that they'll ever have, I mean, you're pretty good friends with Tim, right? Stanley? If they could make it mandatory hookup? I just,
That's a big question mark. He has tried for several years to get things done in Buckhead that still haven't been done. So to me, we're so far out away from Moorhaven, and that seems to be where the hub is. And we can't even get our roads repaired. So to answer your question, I don't know. I can talk to him about it and ask him.
If I could offer something, I think it's more of a health department issue. The state, that if gravity sewer is available, I think the health department is prevented from issuing a septic tank permit.
Even in Glades.
That's, I think to us,
Really?
I think that's a statewide deal, but if you want, I can check with the Glades,
I would
county.
check. I mean, I'd love to see them go on septic tank. Listen at me, I'd love to see them go on a septic system but I don't wanna spend 75% either, you know,
Or we could spend 25 and they spend 75. Because let's face it, if you had to put in a septic tank and a drain field, you're looking at $6,000 to $8,000 or more, depending upon what the health department would require because of the.
depends on how much dirt you gotta haul in.
And that's right, and where the water table is and elevations, and so, again, if I did the math, it was, if you looked at, well, then, for my purposes, we keep the math simple, if it was 10,000 per lot, you're looking at $160,000, which should more than cover the cost. So if we were at $7,000 or $8,000 a lot for a septic tank and drain field, again, I think that would pay for the gravity sewer. No pun intended, it's a sunk cost either way. You're either gonna put in the money to septic tank and drain field or sewer system. And I think, if we get there first, it would be the sewer system. And so what I'd propose to the developer is, I said, look, you pay it up front. We'll do a payment plan. It's relatively low interest, and we'll give you 5 or 10 years to pay it off.
And that's what we did with all our developer
Yes, sir.
agreements here, so I would make it the same offer that we did here. Whatever we did, if we had a cost sharing or if we didn't.
We've been all over the place with it.
Okay, so
Do we supply potable water for these folks?
Sir?
Is there water already supplied to
Yes, sir.
these lots? Okay, so if they did make it mandatory, we would have recourse for capital, or for the general fee.
The base charge, we would
Base
end up billing them, yes, sir.
Okay.
And nothing's concrete, I just needed guidance so that as I work through this with them over the next month, if you're receptive to some kind of payment plan or a percentage offer, let me see what we can work with them and bring it back next month. But if it's clear that you don't want a payment plan or you don't want percentage payment, give me that guidance and we'll see what we come up with.
The developer, in my opinion, the developer has a better chance of recouping that $8,100 per lot through sales or whatever,
sir.
where we don't. We're gonna go ahead and extend our system in there, which we've done before, which is fine to get people off of septic tank, but it's a cost we'll never recoup, other than the capital connection and the,
Well, we could recover it through the ad valorem process, but then that adds even more cost.
right.
Yeah.
Because we have to bring in some financial specialists to confirm that the improvement exceeds the value of the lot. There's just things that we have to do.
This kind of mirrors the property east of town that Mr. Goodbread was doing, doesn't it? That-
Well, our Cemetery Road water main extension was very similar. With the east of town on Goodbread, it was something that we were interested in when it was 29 lots.
Right.
But then when he cut it down to 10 lots, there really isn't the interest there for, 10 customers as opposed to 30.
yeah, he cut it down to 2 acres. He figured he can sell 2 acres quicker and lot less development, lot less developing to sell 2.5 acre lots off the road.
Sure, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense, but this is the one that's against, it's all the way against the canal that runs down Access Road,
Yes,
right?
sir, it's very close to that.
Okay. It's been there for a couple years,
Oh, a
it's been
lot
there
of
for
years.
several years, yeah.
Now you're
Somebody's
giving me
spot-
the geographics, I was thinking it was the big place they're clearing out west of there a little bit for, this
No,
isn't that.
this is before that.
Okay, now I
Yeah.
know where we are.
Yeah, this is if you go down, like you're going to the locks down Access Road, there's the empty,
Empty spot over there.
yeah, with all the,
How
Okay, now I know where we are. I was thinking,
Turn to the Dollar General, right past
Yeah.
the Dollar General.
that's why I was asking about water. I thought we were still out in the cow pasture out there.
No, sir.
All right, well, whatever the board wants to recommend, I'm good with.
John, I think you go back look at what and I know you said we were all over the board, but, I think you all from the finance deal, don't y'all?
Sure.
Like we did the other ones
Let me work through it, and I'll bring some back next month. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to juggle here between the one individual lot owner, the developer, trying to get an engineer on board and a contractor, and let me see what we can bring back, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Because you gotta go down one side of the road or the other and cross under, right?
Yes, sir. And I just drew the green line, it could be on either
You're
side.
having a hard time with roads.
Well, I think the green
Maybe
line's the
wait till you
best
go
side,
across.
cause there's 10 lots on that side. You only gotta bore under, 6 times, or 1 time to go down, or you have to bore under
Well,
for
three-
every one.
Three places, we'll do 2 lots per
Per-
cut.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further questions for John?
I'll bring it back next month, once we get some information.
All right.
I'll contact the health department also, just to make sure.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 18, administrative vehicle. John?
Again, this is a follow-up of some earlier presentations. There was we looked earlier at some smaller administrative vehicles, Blazer, Explorer types. And then there was a request for the Nick size, larger vehicle, and that got us into the Tahoe and Expedition ranges on just pure dollar amounts. And the only thing I don't have is if there were a few attachments or features, such as like a third key or something like that, that we would have to add to it. But this is the estimated pricing for those vehicles from both the Florida Sheriff's contract as well as some direct quotes from a couple local dealerships.
John, you're a bow tie guy, right?
Bow ties are good, yes, sir, as opposed to the medallions.
I mean, I think we let John make up his mind what he wants.
Yep.
I concur. I was just going to share, about a month ago, I did have the opportunity to go over to the coast with 3 other men. There was 4 of us, and we went in a Traverse, and I drive a Silverado 1500 right now. I swear, except for the headroom, that Traverse had more room inside of it than my truck. And I've got a 4-door truck. It's very comfortable. It got 28 miles to the gallon. That's the only thing I've test rode. The other ones I don't know anything about, but I was very impressed with that vehicle. It's plastic. That's all they make anymore, but,
Well, I've drove the Blazer, the Traverse, the Explorer, the Traverse LS, the Explorer XL, and I bought a Volkswagen Atlas. Okay, then I've drove the Tahoe and the Expedition XL. I drove it to West Virginia last year, leased one. You got 21 miles a gallon with that new 10-speed and that turbocharged V6. But I personally, after all of them I drove, it'd be the Tahoe drives a tick tighter, but the Expedition's got more room. So it's,
This or that.
I mean, and you can get them both worked on here, but I think you're gonna like either one. The XL that's the long one. We put my whole family in it and all our stuff and moved my dad to West Virginia in it. I mean, it's got, you get in the very back seat, it's like being in the center back seat. They're nice vehicles, but so's that Tahoe. It doesn't have the room that the Ford has. It drives a tick better, doesn't get the fuel mileage that the Ford gets, but it's which one do you like?
yeah. John, I think the board was right, you make the decision on what you like. We're into 4 months on this thing. We were hoping to expedite it and get it going a little earlier, so I think we need to let's go ahead and let you make a decision, and we'll approve it unless you want too much money.
Regardless of which vehicle, it'll be 6 to 8 months probably before we see it.
They ain't got no chips.
So, anyway, all right, well, I'll work on that and bring that back at the next meeting, and we'll go from there.
Just get you one.
I'd like to take a ride over to Fort Pearson at the next meeting. We've been going for 4 months on this.
Yep, I will
The
do that for you.
reason Chevrolet didn't come back with a quote is there's no Tahoes even in the future. That's the reason they didn't quote. I went down there I went down and said, hey, tired of trying to do business with you guys. And so there was a phone call made.
Well, I talked to somebody on the commercial side, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
said they would be able to deal with it. The guy that was referred to me was on the, I guess, open sales team, and he wasn't on his A game. So I talked to somebody on the other side of the commercial fleet, and they said they would get me a quote today. And I said, well, the meeting's today, so.
It's all used cars. I mean, I think they've got probably 8 or 10 new vehicles between the two lots. And they usually have 300 new vehicles.
Well, I can only share with you, I was also looking at a vehicle. You don't even buy them nowadays. You buy them virtually.
Right.
They show you pictures of one that's scheduled to be in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Do you want to buy it?
Or you can go to Kentucky where they've got them all parked, waiting on the chip, and look at them there. Because they won't run.
So anyway, that's where we're at. All right, John.
Moving on, agenda item number 19, proposed improvements for Connor Gable.
The lot owner in the red square in the picture has asked us for service. We can provide service. We gave them a quote for a 2-inch water main extension to get to their parcel. They elected to pay it for that 2-inch extension. But when we step back from the map and look at the entire picture, we've done this in the past where we've done 2-inch extensions, and then later on somebody else wants it, and somebody else, and then we got to go back and rip the 2-inch out and put in a 6 or an 8-inch. So I thought, well, now's the time that if we're going to do this, and there are other parcels to the west, the left side of this picture, why not go ahead and just put in a 6 or an 8-inch water main and be done with it? And then as we extend it in the future, we've got that available. So the question is that this entire cost is in the realm of I believe I said it's $21,000 thereabouts. We can cover that under our general budget item for water main extensions that we put in the budget. Is the board receptive to doing this water main extension on Southeast 8th Street in the Connors Gable subdivision, which is in the southwest section off of, Everglades Boulevard by the school? Actually, that's the school parking lot there in the upper right-hand corner. It's in that vicinity of our
With the 8-inch, can we put a fire hydrant at the end of it?
we would measure that and probably put one in there, yes, sir.
Should we justify fire protection there to absorb some of the cost through that fund? That's what I think that was my question.
I mean, not only that, if we put a fire hydrant there, it also helps these folks with their insurance too.
Well, clearly with the 2-inch, we're not doing that, but if it is the 6 or 8 that we would put in, we'll look at that.
Yeah. Like I said, I'd put the 8 in and see if I couldn't hang a fire hydrant off the end of it.
I'm not an advocate for them going back and doing it again.
No,
That's,
Waste of money. We need that in the form of a motion to,
It would certainly be nice.
all right,
I make a motion that we do the 8-inch. Let me get back to the top here. Proposed improvements in Connors Gables at the 3600 block of Southeast 8th Street.
motion by Mr. Clay,
Second.
by Mr. Nelson. Discussion? Further discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to agenda item number 20, engineering RFP for Okatani Sanitation Force Main. John or Jeff?
The Okatani Force Main, we would like to go ahead and put out the RFP for engineering proposals to do the design work from Okatani up to the southwest service area. What I would need, at least some direction from the board. In the past, the board has appointed a board member to sit on the review committee, so that, yes, you're looking at the right person. We've appointed a board member to sit on the review committee so that we could rank the proposals between staff members and the board member, bring that tentative ranking back to the board. The board can review the proposals and develop a final ranking of the submissions. And with that number one ranking, then we would negotiate a scope of work, and, or at least attempt to negotiate a scope of work and fee schedule with that number one. I can remind you that this is money that we are using FDEP grant monies for this project. We need to get it started. I haven't heard anything more from the county as to where that project is. I'm assuming it's good, because if it was bad, you would hear about it. So I'm assuming that that's moving forward, and we need to do our part to do the design work and get that started. So if the board is so receptive to that idea, if you folks could appoint a board member to sit on the committee, we will keep that process moving.
I'm make the motion, we move Mr. Creasman into that slot.
Wait a minute, I'm here. You're supposed to do that when I'm absent. You know?
I second that.
Come on now, you're ganging up
I'm
on
all
me.
in favor.
It's unanimous.
That's 3 out of 4.
Give me that COVID shot. I think I'm coming down with something. Oh, man. I had one day off this week, too. So we need to authorize you to move forward with the RFPs and,
No, I mean, that's fine, that's fine. We're got to do it anyway. We need to do that. What I was needing is really, I mean, that would be a fine motion to move forward with the RFP and then appoint a board member as the representative on the review committee.
I think
We
that
just
would be
appointed the board member.
Sir?
We just appointed the board member.
It wasn't under a form of a motion, so it's null and
He
void.
did make a motion, there was a second, there was no vote yet.
Tommy made it, I seconded it.
Who's got the gavel today? We should do it in the form of a motion to issue or submit, or start advertising requests for proposals. So,
So said.
motion by Mr. Clay.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nelson. Discussion? Objections on appointed member? No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion that Mr. Creasman works with Mr. Hayford and staff on ranking the
Engineer.
engineers as they come in.
Motion, Mr. Clay.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nelson. Any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Under duress? Aye. All right. Be good to get that moving. Agenda item number 21, public comment. Jeff, we'll look at you, but you're more than public to us, but you're the only one in the gallery today. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 23, John. Items,
Due to the length of this meeting, I'll keep it short. Everything is there as far as our ongoing projects. You know, the southeast water main project went very, very quickly. They've got the piping in. It's been pressure tested, back tees. I believe they're actually making the tie-in today. That thing went very, very smooth with the contractor and our support staff. I wish all our projects could go that way. Oak Lake Estates, much of the stormwater is in. Probably about half of our wastewater is in. That's moving better, but we have had a lot of rain this weekend. We'll see how well the stormwater system worked, and we will pursue the rest of our work.
It's gonna work great as long as you get somebody out there to rake and keep them grates raked off.
They're at a point now where they're well pointing for every one of them back pits.
Really?
If the water table.
So, yeah.
It's very wet.
Yeah, I mean, it's July. You know, it's-
We had
The lake's back up another foot, or back up in the 13s. And they're dumping water as far as they can down the river and Slough Ditch.
So everything's going fine. I can tell you that, Mr. Mullis and I were roofers last week trying to fix, several leaks in this roof. It's starting to show its age, so I have, reached out to a architect to look at, the same one that we used before, because as you remember, we did the temporary patches out front, thinking that there would be some more permanent deals. And so he's supposed to get back with me to know whether or not we tried a third and final time at grant funding, and if not, what we need to do for more of a permanent fix for this building. We've had some electrical issues, we've had a roofing issue. The outside is looking a little ratty on the north end of the building, and so we need to put some money into it.
And it was what, about 300,000 that they were trying to get grant money for?
That was interior and exterior.
That was both, yeah.
So I think what he suggested is next time we'll have to probably reverse that, up our ante a little bit more, decrease the grant funding, or decrease the scope of the work, so that the overall price comes down.
Could we do an SRF loan to redo the building?
Probably. I can look into that.
I think it's something, I think we need to go forward with, and I'm sorry,
No, that's a good point.
I think we need to go forward with seeing if we can get the grant, but if we can't, let's have Plan B so we can fix our building. Because this is I mean, you look across the street at what Gil's doing over there, it'd be great to do this over here. With the windows, and we know what those windows look like behind those boards, and they're beautiful.
It is an important piece of what the community has done to the park or the other buildings.
Yeah, and you got the cattle drive coming
Well,
right
that
there.
flag out there is like fantastic, so I mean, it's just a whole deal, and here we sit.
Yeah, I thought about this last week. I think it's time, that's the reason I brought that up, is it's time to either figure out how we're gonna do this in stages or borrow the money and do it. Because underneath that roof over there is all those metal stamped.
Right.
I mean, it's not this, it's the real stuff, you know, and those, again, those windows and the double doors, they still had the key in them. Remember?
Yeah, there was a key in it.
I think we need to look into that before we start spending a lot of money on roofs and ceilings and get the repairs done, of course, where we don't lose the interior of the building, make it compatible, but see if we can get some SRF loans before we put $100,000 on the roof or whatever.
Well, yeah, no doubt, I mean, we gotta look at the total package, but it's, so far, I checked this morning, it appears to be dry after the weekend rain, so.
And it was a good one this weekend too.
It was wet, we had a lot of water, everybody did, got a lot of water.
Yeah,
So,
Friday night was deep.
But it's just the inkling of what's coming inside this building.
It's time.
It's just, it's old, and the problem that we have is there are certain features in this building that we can't change. We have to work around them, and so that hurts us on the space needs, so.
We can put your office in that vault right there.
Well, I started out back in the jeweler shop, or whatever that front building was, with the sliding glass door. That's where we kind of started out at, but, yeah, there needs to be some.
It's
Some
time. I
effort
mean,
to put in the
this
building.
is a piece of our history in this community, and again, I watch what Gil's done all over the community with the old Thomas House and everything else that he rebuilt, and it's, you know, and that bank, and then the gas station and the gazebo, and I mean, he's just doing that up over there.
Well, maybe Gil would like to buy this building and go build a new one.
We don't need to build a new one.
Let's buy the Shrine Club.
That sold, I heard.
Did it?
That's what I heard.
So that's in the works. We'll bring ways, and other than that, it's business as usual.
Question, John, and I know we've only received one draw from the county. How long is it taking to get turnaround on our invoices for the county? Just my personal knowledge is what.
It's taken quite a bit. I think we got our first one that we submitted in May. We got that last week,
The second one's still pending. We're
the
still-
second one. But I mean, it's coming. It's just, for me, I think it took a lot longer, but maybe it was just because it was the first one, and now the second one should follow along fairly quickly. So we'll see.
I know historically, they take a long time to pay. My past history with them, you can go to other counties and they pay in 10 days, but I was always looking at 90 days or more with the county. So I'm just curious.
But this is a different process that we're doing, where there's two governmental agencies involved in one project, and there's a lot of new things that we're doing, but I think it's so far.
You gotta do Johnny Mac theory. When he built schools here, you know, usually you go to do pulls, and if it was a $20 million school, he requested 20 million up front, put it in the bank. That's what paid for the sports parks and all that at these schools, because he drew interest off the money for 2 years.
They're sure hard to get if you have cost overruns. Extra.
But it's working fine. I mean, so far, it's so good. I mean, I'm pleased with the way the construction's gone. So far, so good.
Any further questions for our executive director? Thank you, John. Agenda item 24, items from the board.
I just ask if anybody hears anything that Tom needs, that we,
I'll let you folks know.
yeah.
I've been in contact, I couldn't say anything for several weeks. All I
If there's
can-
anything you see that he needs, or,
Just put him in your prayers. It's not good. It's not good.
you know,
His outlook is fantastic. I was up with them over the weekend, up till 1 o'clock in the morning. Gotta make him comfortable. He's going for a couple of tests right now. His outlook is fantastic. Just hope for the best that they can just bring it under control.
I told Matt Arrieta the same thing, you know, when Matt's fighting that stuff. I told him I'd come feed his horses. Well, I said, I'm gonna have to shoot you damn dogs, but I will come feed your horses, because you can't get in the yard without getting dog bit, but.
I offered to drive him over to Moffett and Tampa if they need,
Yeah.
if need be.
Yeah, I'll be back next week, so anything they need.
Tom is definitely a very important piece to our puzzle, and he's become, to me, a good friend.
Well, he's a,
Friend, he's like a brother relative.
he's a very important piece of our community and has been my whole life. And, I mean, I'm 60 and he was an attorney when I was a kid, you know? And we were laughing a while ago, but you had him and Judge Bryant. That was the two legal people in Okeechobee County that I can remember. You had to go to TomTom to get off and get out of trouble with Mr. Bryant if you couldn't do it in Mr. Bryant's front yard on a Saturday afternoon.
Judge Brian very well.
Oh, he was a piece of work.
Any other items from the board? Any further business to come before the board?
Just good health for everybody.
Okay. That being said, our meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. See you in a month.
Oh, Lord. Let's go to Atlanta.
There's a book in my phone.
How about that?
Thank you, sir.
If you'd have pulled that out and hit my knee, I'd have needed a shot.